This week's top stories: vote all you want and the secret government won't change. Solar storms dump gigawatts of energy into Earth's upper atmosphere. We already grow enough food for 10 billion people and still can't end world hunger. Obama poses in front of Che Guevara. China has a new armed drone helicopter and it looks really scary. Chinese nuclear fusion breakthrough produces an artificial sun. Pluto probably has an ocean under its surface. I see colors that you cannot imagine. And scientists use light to reactivate lost memories in mice with Alzheimer's symptoms. And to put a cherry on the cake, scientists grow full-sized, beating human hearts from stem cells.
Welcome to Drunken Yogi News. Shit to pay attention to.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war. I'll be very blunt.
Okay, welcome back, guys. Before we get started, I just want you guys to know all the resources and links to all the ridiculous information we're about to go over are in the show notes underneath. If you do like this, please subscribe, like, and click on the links, because that's how I get paid. Now, let's get started. We're going to the Boston Globe for an article that you would think was coming from Infowars.com, but it's not. And it goes, vote all you want, but the secret government will not change. We, the people, elect the ones calling the shots. At least that's what we used to think. The voters who put Barack Obama in office expected some big changes. From the NSA warrantless wiretapping to Guantanamo Bay, the Patriot Act, candidate Obama was a defender of civil liberties and privacy, promising dramatically different approaches from his predecessor. But 6 years into his administration, the Obama version of national security looks almost indistinguishable from the one he inherited. Yeah, so Peace Prize Barack Obama is exactly the same, if not worse, than George Bush. And this guy goes on with his book and the title, National Security and the Double Government. He catalogs the way that the defense and national security apparatus is effectively self-governing with virtually no accountability, transparency, or checks and balances of any kind. He uses the term double government because everybody else has already used all the other good terms like shadow government, and which is a great documentary, by the way. They're the ones we elect. There's the ones we elect, and there's the ones behind it, steering the huge swaths of policies almost unchecked. Elected officials end up serving as mere cover or puppets for the real decision makers by the bureaucracy. This is what we've been saying for decades. For me, 5 to 10 years, and we've had the information, and now it is coming out in mainstream media. Will people pay attention? I hope so. We need to get this out so people can have the right information to make the right decisions moving forward. And we're going to NASA now for some crazy science information. They go on to say, the reason I came here is because they proved that carbon dioxide does not have a runaway greenhouse effect, and that carbon dioxide, quote, and nitrous oxide are natural thermostats. When the upper atmosphere heats up, these molecules try as hard as they can to shed the heat back into space. And that's what happened on March 8th when a coronal mass ejection propelled in our direction by an X5 class solar flare that hit Earth's magnetic field. The thermostat lit up like a Christmas tree. It began to glow intensely at infrared wavelength as the thermostat effect kicked in. And what happens is that the CO2 and the NO shed as much heat back into space as possible whenever we are being bombarded by huge amounts of heat and radiation from the sun. The opposite of what I heard in The Inconvenient Truth. But more interestingly, in this article, A recent flurry of eruptions in the sun did more than spark pretty auroras around the poles. NASA-funded research says the storm on March 8th through the 10th dumped enough energy in Earth's upper atmosphere to power every residence in New York City for 2 years. This sounds a lot like the Tesla understanding of energy, that we could set up private, independent ways of extracting this energy that surrounds us on a daily basis to give everybody free and unregulated energy. But that wouldn't be good for the secret government in which we just spoke about. Wonder why it hasn't happened yet. Anyway, moving on to the Huffington Post. This article here shows that we already grow enough food for 10 billion people, and we still can't end hunger. So our food production can feed 10 billion people. That is billions more than what we have on this planet today. Yet still people go to bed hungry. Not because we can't grow enough food. Get that idea out of your head. Not because we're overpopulated. Get that idea out of your head. It is because of the economics that are set above the people of this planet by, again, the foregone mentioned secret government and the world governments and the other governments that keep people starving. We have enough food to feed everybody. And if we just got past some of our little side things, we would not have people going to bed hungry. So, what's Obama doing about this? Well, luckily enough, he's out there posing in front of Che Guevara. Huge, huge mural of Che Guevara in a communist dictatorship in which people protest Obama's visit on ESPN, our ESPN, and were taken off and silenced by their government. Whenever he is in a church, like his visit to Notre Dame, they have all the crosses hid or removed. Yet he goes out and poses in front of Che Guevara. Please check out the link to the Free Domain video where you can see how horrible Che Guevara actually is. So, moving on to pop science, China has a new fun toy. It's their new drone-armed helicopter, and this thing is scary as shit. Obviously, not something that we're going to be able to buy in the stores anytime soon, but definitely something to check out because this technology is out there, and I am not looking forward to it being pointed towards me or people I know. Look at that thing. We have the China-armed blah 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 drones have recently made international news being used by nations that range from Iraq to Nigeria. Now the Noricon, one of China's leading defense contractors, is getting in on the international drone export game, showing off new armed drone helicopters. Isn't it just so cool? We have little drone helicopters that can kill people and murk fucking families and kill people in funerals and weddings, because that's whenever drones usually strike. Well, they've got some cool science going on, at least over there. China's nuclear fission breakthrough produces an artificial sun. Check this fucking machine out. While the world is looking at renewable energies as a solution to its energy woes, nuclear fusion has always been considered as an alternative. A nuclear fusion experiment conducted in the Institute of Physics and Science of the Chinese Academy of Science has seen a breakthrough in its field. And what they did was they took it and heated it up, and they fondly know it as the artificial sun, made a pulse of plasma discharge, producing heat in excess of 50 million kelvins, just under 50 million degrees Celsius. The device sustained this pulse for 102 seconds. In contrast, the sun's core temperature is about 15 million degrees. So, obviously fusion's not going to be rolling out tomorrow, but this is a huge step forward, and if we could get something like fusion, we already have the food, we could have the energy to be able to pull everybody out of poverty and shoot for the stars. And while we're on our way to the stars, let's swing by Pluto, because now NASA's Discovery News is trying to tell us that Pluto has liquid water oceans underneath its crust. liquid water oceans on Pluto at the outer ring of our solar system. Despite being so far from the sun, tiny Pluto, which is smaller than the Earth's moon, we'll get into that later, has an active geologic life from the start, one that continues to the present day, according to the new information found. And what they are trying to say is that they are now seeing reason to believe that Pluto has a liquid water, obviously not the best with drinkable water, but with heat coming off of radioactive elements in Pluto's rocks and other sources, which is able to keep this ocean from freezing over this far out in our solar system. This is huge. If there's an ocean there, there's life there. And that life is probably completely different than us. And we are now getting our first looks at it. And can't wait till we can get a drone out there, start driving it around and see if we can find some fish. We, get some Saturn V rockets, jump out there, go for a nice fishing vacation. Anyway, we are now in the BBC, and this story is absolutely crazy. I can see colors that you cannot even imagine. Some women are born with hypersensitive eyes that can see the world in ways most of us cannot even imagine. What's it like to live with this gift? That's what they've been studying for 3 years. And now the first couple paragraphs sound like an LSD trip. They've been studying this lady for a very long time, and they can actually say that she has this ability. She can see shades of colors and colors that we can't even imagine just because of a genetic variance in her genes that allows her to have double the cones. She can see better in the dark. She can see lights and glimmers and essences that we can only imagine. And this is something that in 5 to 10 years you may be able to be CRISPRed into you. You might be able to see colors because of genetic engineering of your own body. You might be able to see the world like this lady does within a decade or two. And the science of light gets weirder and weirder every week. Going from looking at light to using light, scientists use light to reactivate lost memories in mice with Alzheimer's symptoms. What they do is they use this light that massages these little tiny neurons, and the technique called optogenics, in which living cells are manipulated via precise bursts of light. The researchers restored memories of learned behavior in animals that had been genetically engineered to develop the kind of memory loss seen in early Alzheimer's. The findings suggest that the early onset of the disease might impact the retrieval of the memories more than their encoding and subsequent storage. In the study, mice were conditioned to associate fear with a particular cage in which they received an unpleasant shock. Lovely scientists. Memory of the experience would lead healthy mice to freeze up once placed in the enclosure, but mice with Alzheimer's system tended to freeze less frequently, showing evidence of progressive memory loss. Using this technique, they're able to stimulate the brain, reconnect the neurons, and the mice is able to remember and act the way it would without Alzheimer's. This is amazing, and it's completely uninvasive from what I understand. They can do this without chopping your head open or putting a chip in like all the other cures that they've been pushing for the past couple years with Alzheimer's. This is a very, very great technology, and I can't wait to see more come from it. Hopefully they can stop shocking mice and maybe give them a treat, and if they remember the treat's coming, then they can say that they have the memories back. But we're gonna put the cherry on the pie right now with pop science, with scientists growing full-size beating human hearts from stem cells. It's the closest we've come to growing transplantable hearts in the lab. Over 4,000 Americans waiting for heart transplants. Only 2,500 will receive new hearts in the next year. Even those lucky enough to get the transplant, the big risk of their bodies will reject the new heart and launch a massive immune reaction against the foreign cells. So they can then take stem cells out of your body, grow a heart, and put it in, and your body will think it's yours, and you won't even have to imagine, or your body won't even have to act like it's a different body part. And boom, 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 boom. I bet Dick Cheney really likes this technology. That robot one's probably getting a little boring at this point. But this is super crazy. They obviously aren't going to be transplanting it. There's some stuff they need to still work on, but the fact that they can grow a beating heart in a laboratory is absolutely mind-blowing. And that makes me believe we are in 2016 and we need to keep paying attention. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you soon.